Before, and I'd like to call this Common Council for the City of Beaver Dam meeting to order. Tracy, if we can get the roll call.
Anderson,
Here.
Appenfeld,
Here.
Burnett,
Here.
Burnett,
Here.
Marie, Flaherty,
Here.
Fisher.
Yep.
Hiley. Here. Keel,
Here.
Olson, Perkins.
Here.
Wild.
Here.
Yads.
Here.
Zap.
And please let the record show that Alder Furry contacted me and he is excused. Now we'll stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance and silent deliberation. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on our agenda is now is the time for our informal public hearing. So if there are any citizens either here in the council chamber or online who would like to address the council, now is your opportunity. If there's anyone who wants to speak to the council, now is that portion of the meeting. And one last time, if there's anyone who would like to address council, now is your opportunity. Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to announcements. Nathan, do you have any announcements? Just the one?
Yeah.
Okay, council members, any announcements? Okay, I have a short list. Okay, first, I've heard from 8 out of the 14 of you regarding the Generac tour on Monday, March 24th at 4 o'clock. If you are interested, just shoot me an email. They're just trying to get a general head count so they can make arrangements and make plans. So if you're interested, shoot me an email. I sent you an email last week regarding that. Next item, I received in the mail a very nice thank you note from Trinity United Methodist Church, and it just says, "Dear Mayor and Council members, our church family gives thanks for the difference you make in our community each and every day." And then it's signed by, I don't know, I'm assuming maybe their church council, a large number of people. So I thought that was nice. I also want to remind everyone that there's always fun things going on in and around town. We should make note, I just got an email today from the leader of the Wisconsin Kitty Cat Racers, who are having races on February 8th, and also on February 15th, it's the 30th annual Swan Synchro Skate at the Family Center Ice Arena. So around the 15th, if you see lots of ice skaters running around town, because they will be here in droves. And finally, the last item, you are all invited to join us at the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Regional Roundtable. It is, we are hosting. So we're inviting community leaders from all around the state to join us. It's on Tuesday, February 13th at 4 p.m. It goes from 4 to 7, and it's an opportunity just to network and there's a short Robert Rules of Order training session and a light meal, and then just some updates. So we're very proud that Beaver Dam was chosen to host. And we're going to be meeting at the Public Works facility in the large meeting room there. So that's on February 13th. Very good. Any other announcements for the good of the cause?
Yes, Bobby, there was one thing. I was contacted today by some of the people at Madison Place, and they wanted to have me thank the council for all their work on Rowell Street.
Oh,
So
great, great, very good. Anything else? Okay, then the next item on the agenda is the disposition of the minutes from our last council meeting. Can I get a motion? Yeah, Thank you, Alder Burnett. Can I get a second? Alder Bonet. Any additions, corrections on the minutes from our last meeting? Okay, then all those in favor of approval of the minutes, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Thank you. Very good. Next, we go on to presentations and reports. First item is the city administrator report.
Just a couple of things to update the council on or make you aware. Mayor, I and Trent recently had the opportunity to participate in a meeting at the county level. They've recently introduced a community development fund in which they've budgeted about $2 million for the purposes of helping to close the gap for development projects, infrastructure projects that will lead to development and so forth. So just want to make everyone aware and if you see the county or members of the county, we've got one in our presence tonight. Just thank them for this. I think this is going to be a really opportune program for municipalities like ourselves. The intent really is to take sales tax and direct it towards the development in the communities, in the cities to hopefully create more sales tax or create more property tax.
And I just want to comment that what I thought was so exciting is this is a program that Dodge County has created from scratch. They did not get this program from anywhere else. It was something where they thought it was a good idea and they took the ball and ran with it. And it's taken them years to create the process and create the application and go through all those steps. So I really think, I think we owe the county a huge thank you for being willing to do all that work in order to hopefully Beaver Dam will be getting some of our sales tax back. Yeah. Alder Burnett.
We used to contract with another company, but that was they service not only Dodge County, but Jefferson County. I don't know what other places they serviced, but it always seemed to me that Dodge County is getting the short end of the stick. So that's why we decided to go on our own and do it our way.
Yeah, so we thank you.
Second, I know that this was a topic that we were in the process last year, came to council, we tabled it. I just wanted to bring it to your attention again, just letting you know that progress is being made. We've been working on the city entry signs. The advisory committee actually met today, taking the feedback that you'd given us and trying to make a design that met all the desires. So I just want you to know that that progress is being made there, and hopefully we'll be able to bring something to the council in the near term. And then finally, wanted to just make you aware that Todd, Jeremy, Joe Lehner, and I were able to meet with Allied Tech, just reviewing our water treatment plant facility and specifically reviewing the lime process. This is an issue that you guys are aware of, but I want to make you aware that in the future, this is going to be something that's going to require a little bit of discussion and workshopping with the council to figure out solutions that long-term solutions for our water system. And so just be aware that staff are working with Allied Technologies and hopefully in the near term bringing some an outline and points of discussion for us to kind of move forward. So those are the main things that I have. Again, feel free if you have any questions, you know where to find me. So.
Thank you, Nathan. Tracy, any communications?
There are none this evening.
The next item is the approval of the bills between January 17th and January 30th, 2025 in the amount of $721,661.16.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Can I get a second? Alder Wild. Questions, comments? I know it was passed by admin. All those in favor then of approving the bills, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That brings us to resolutions. Okay.
Resolution number 8-2025, a resolution establishing polling places in the city of Beaver Dam for 2025.
Okay, and you received a list, and I don't believe there were any changes from the last several elections. So can I get a motion? Thank you, Alder Yads, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Alder Burnett. Questions, comments? Seeing none, then all those in favor of
We need a
approving.
roll call on that.
Oh, okay, sorry. Tracy, you want to call the roll?
Anderson,
Aye.
Appenfeld,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
Aye.
Zap.
Aye.
And the resolution passes. Next item,
Resolution number 9-2025, a resolution authorizing the purchase of equipment, construction, and installation of bike repair stations.
can I get a motion on this? Oh, Alder Olson,
Making a motion to approve as presented.
thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Alder Burnett. Questions, discussion? Maybe Alder Burnett, do you maybe want to talk about what was discussed in the operations committee?
Yes. This evening, we had the conversation and the presentation. We reviewed where this piece for the bike station fits into the broader perspective of the $50,000 that was allocated for I'm forgetting the expression, the city fund. But there's three stations that the $5,000 covers. And some of that's been donated and would be purchasing the others, but it's basically a footholds in the community for people on bikes to get a repair. And we found out repair can be anywhere from flat tires to minor equipment. And it's a part of the bigger scheme, which is the expansion of the bike path coming to Beaver Dam when that occurs, I think in 2 years.
The Gold Star Trail is probably a little bit further out, but it's the intention of the county to bring the Gold Star Trail to Beaver Dam. And then the city is hoping also to expand the bike trail system within the city as a whole.
Yes, and so this fits into that. It's somewhat of an experimental project in terms of a service, but it's a start and it's a tie-in back to the community group that spent a lot of time, offering solutions. So this is one step, and it's $5,000.
And I would just like to comment that one thing I think is exciting about this proposal is I really appreciate the tie-in with the Beaver Dam Unified School District, that students in their medals programs are going to help construct the bike station. So I just think that's a really, and the district is donating some of the supplies to get them built. So I just think that's, as a former high school teacher, I just think that's a really awesome opportunity for some kids in our schools to be able to say, hey, I designed that, I helped build that. So just kind of an extra little piece. But any other questions or comments? Then I think we're ready to vote.
Appenfeld,
Aye.
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Hiley.
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yads,
No.
Zap.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
That brings us to our next resolution.
Resolution number 10-2025, a resolution to amend the City of Beaver Dam 2025 fee schedule.
Can I get a motion and a second? Alder Zopp
I'll make a motion to approve.
and Alder Burnett.
Second.
Questions, discussion, maybe Alder Zopp, do you want to summarize what was discussed in admin?
So we, admin discussed this 2 weeks ago. It's been an ongoing conversation about how to best balance supporting local events, but also ensuring that the city, that there's some sort of safety net if an event planner takes advantage of the city. So what we landed on was essentially saying, we are promoting or incentivizing special events to apply early so that the city staff can work the planning efforts into their normal daily schedule without overtaxing them, right? But it penalizes event planners who apply after 60 days. So we don't want event planners applying on short notice. So there is a cost for that. As you'll read in the memo, there is also a cost for additional services that are outside of the applicant's event plan. So I think Nathan, as you would describe it, if the plan calls for a concrete barrier at a street and, or sorry, I'm sorry, if the plan calls for a car, the event planners would be having a car there. I think this would also apply to if a planned concrete barrier would be established. But for some other reason, they don't follow that. They don't get their car there, or they said that they would pick up their trash and they don't pick up their trash. They would be billed for that service for the city to come in and pick up the trash or to install an unplanned concrete barrier that was not in their plan. So there are ways to penalize event planners that don't follow their plans and ways to incentivize good actors. So that's where we left things with the schedule.
Alder Anderson?
I have a ton of questions. Number one, how many people, I assume that you took a vote of this on the administrative committee? And how many people abstained?
So there were no abstentions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. How many members in this room have dealings with these events? You know, I believe you were involved, you and Miss Shelton were involved with putting together the Pride Fest, Zach. I believe Miss Keel works for UGA, who claims a lot of these. Mr. Furry is not here this evening. So you guys didn't feel the need to abstain? You know,
So,
Or, yeah, if
I
you're
would
involved,
turn
then
to Attorney Konopacki, and that these are permits that are not specific. Any
yep, I get your,
Point of order. If you would like to speak, you need to address the chair. The chair will recognize you and then you may speak. Please do not speak directly to other council members.
if I believe I had the floor already, point of order.
Point of order. You need to address the entire council and you need to not respond directly to another alder. They need to respond through me.
Okay, can I have my time back now since I had the floor?
Did you have a question that you wanted answered?
Yes.
So if you ask it, then we can get other alders to answer it.
Okay. How many other aldermans have dealings with these events that may be? That's a question. How many aldermans have dealings with these events that may be getting these permits?
And any other alders want to respond?
Could I ask Attorney Konopacki if this would fall into a situation where what we are dealing with are permits that
Excuse me, you do not have the floor. Point of order.
I was.
You didn't ask to be recognized.
Uh,
If we're gonna play that game, I
Alder-
can play that game
Alder
all night
Kanapaki, I
long.
believe there is a question involving appropriateness of votes within the administrative committee that maybe you can address.
Yeah, so the general rules are that if you have, and this is summarized, if you have a personal interest, pecuniary interest, you or your immediate family, in a vote before a committee or the council, that you should abstain. Before I get into the specifics on this particular vote, just note that if you're ever in a situation where you're not sure about whether or not you should abstain based on something you're involved with personally, you can reach out to me. There's a specific statutory provision that allows us as your counsel to provide an opinion. And in fact, if my opinion or our team's opinion is that you are okay to take that vote and it turns out later that we're wrong, you can use that as a protection for you. So I do, if there's a close call and you really like to vote, but you're not sure, feel free to reach out. In certain situations, I have in other communities, sought outside counsel for answers if it's something that I really am too engaged in myself in terms of the question, but please reach out if you have any questions on that. So the general rule is that you can't vote on something where you have a personal pecuniary interest. So for a vote on anything that would apply to you the same as it would apply to anyone else in the community, that's okay. You know, as an example, when I worked for the legislature, there was a legislator who had a financial interest in a biofuels facility, and there was a specific biofuels bill before the legislature, and there were only about 3 of these facilities in the state at the time, and that the Ethics Commission determined that that was inappropriate, that person could vote on that because even though it was a really small group, it was widely applicable to everyone. Typically where we see the problem is where someone's coming in for a particular contract, like some of the contracts that Todd's puts forth before the council. If you have an interest in those, that's getting much closer to where you need to recuse yourself. But if you're voting on something that will apply community-wide and not to you specifically, not affect you any differently than other people in the community, that is okay. In this particular case, what you're looking for, what you're talking about is setting the dollar amount or the cost for a permit that anybody in the community can apply for. You can vote on those, on that, even if you are involved with one of these organizations, because again, it's similarly situated as to anyone else in the community. Now, if you have a particular personal interest in or ownership interest in a community, an entity that would apply for and receive these permits routinely, same thing, as long as everybody that would apply for these permits would get the same outcome. No different than if you're applying, we had a discussion in ops today about the price or whether or not to charge for parking during the winter for parking fees. Even if you're somebody who holds one of those permits, you can take that vote because it's the same as everyone else.
Thank you, Attorney Kanapaki. Okay, that takes us back to the discussion about the resolution to amend the fee schedule. Alder Anderson?
So with it being 0, even if you had a special event and you did request multiple cement concrete barriers, additional signage, and you used hours and hours of city manpower, the fee would still be 0. Is that correct?
I do not know, but
I can answer that. So what was discussed at the committee level was we discussed this years ago or a year ago or a year and a half ago with how to charge for special events. Ultimately, the committee decided that we would only charge for the kind of the application fee. So what we're voting on tonight has to do with when somebody submits an application and processing the application. By no means are these fees covering kind of the services that are tied to these events. The only case would be as if, for instance, an individual submitted a plan and then they completely were neglectful of that plan. And it required the city to address the negligence, or whether it be trash pickup, whether it be, and just a second, I'll answer your question, or I am trying to answer your question. Trash pickup, or let's say they didn't block off a road and the city has to go and block off the road. The committee specifically decided not to charge for services, saying that that was something that we wanted to encourage events and we wanted to have those covered by basically property taxes. And the final comment is that we have not seen the level of concern that you were saying, where there's multiple events, a specific entity is having multiple events with tons of barricades. Oftentimes, we've got one entity who's hosting an event. The chamber has, I think, 2 or 3 events, but only 2 of them require the barricades. So there's a dispersion, I guess, of what I'm trying to say with the services that are required. And the desire of the committee, and I don't mean to speak out of turn, was to really encourage and also not to penalize nonprofits.
Alder Anderson.
So again, I will place my question. If I come with an event saying I need 4 cement barriers and I want 18 trash cans, that I will dispose of them. I just want the trash cans. And I'm going to need 35 police officers to provide security because I'm afraid someone might do something. And that's part of my plan. And I put that in my plan. And I can hand it in for $0. And the city is going to supply that. Keep in mind, it's part of my plan.
Yeah, so the process is, if there's a person who's wanting to, let's say, for instance, yourself, Alder Anderson, said, hey, I want to host an event.
I can't because you guys illegally denied me, but go ahead. We'll play this game.
So fine, Joe Smith says that they want to host an event. They would fill out the application, would need to submit it to technically to Jana Stevens. She would review it, work with the individual or the entity to make sure that it's filled out and satisfies the kind of the directions. There's multiple things that they need to provide. They need to provide a trash plan. They need to provide a plan for bathrooms. They need to tell us how many people they're anticipating to be at the event. And there's quite a bit of effort and time and energy in basically demonstrating what they're going to do. Then they meet with staff, we review that plan, and we'll talk through how many barricades we think they need and closing off streets, if streets even need to be closed off. So the point is that I'm getting at is, to your question, going through that whole process in and of itself provides some vetting, and we'll know whether or not because what I think you're getting at is whether there's going to be an abuse of city services, and we're going to be able to help refine and help instruct and guide the individual to find the adequate amount of services that will be necessary for their event. And typically, it hasn't been that hard. Like, we're able to figure out solutions. And as staff, we're also looking at trying to minimize the amount of services that are required for an event, because we also want to guard taxpayer dollars. We don't want to spend it frivolously.
Alder Anderson.
So who is going to pay for those additional items that I brought up that were part of my plan? And on top of that, you said it's a lot of information. The staff reviews everything. How much is the staff getting paid for this time? $50 seems like a pretty minimal fee to pay for all this time that you just said the staff is going to take to review this. Charging $0 does not seem like a good idea. On top of that, we're charging individual block parties $50 still. These are business owners, get it for $0. So everyone's on board with private citizens have to pay for this and business owners don't? That seems ridiculous to me.
Any other alders want to express an opinion? Alder Burnett?
Uh, colleague Anderson, block parties and what we're talking about here are two different things, apples and oranges. I can't just go walk into a block party. I can walk into a party downtown. We're promoting tourism. We give money to the chamber. We give money for tourism and we want to promote it, not discourage it.
Alder Burnett?
Yeah, I'm confused here. When I read the cover note on the event fee schedule, we talked about the block party, and I'm not as concerned about the bigger picture of the big events, but I'm confused with the resolution. If my neighborhood has a block party, do I have to pay any money?
That's not the fee that we're adjusting. That fee stayed the same. So the fee that got adjusted was for the special events, went from to apply for closure or to set up a special event in the city and requires to go through an application process, meet with staff, make sure that we've got enough bathrooms, that we've got enough, all this other stuff. Requires them to apply 60 days in advance. And if they meet that 60 days, then it's $0. If they don't, then it's 150.
Okay, yeah, well, where I got confused is the narrative, the background commingles the block party fee, and I wasn't sure if that's in there or not, because quite frankly, I have concerns about charging a block party fee for a neighborhood party, $50. But I don't see that anywhere in here. I didn't do the research to go back to the original ordinance. That's my fault. So, and I know we're talking about the event fee, but yeah, anyway, that's my issue. So the answer is, if I'm having a block party in my neighborhood, I got to spend $50.
That was decided a year and a half ago. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or opinions? Alder Olson?
I'm all about getting more tourism dollars into Beaver Dam, and I'm really a fan of the amount of festivals and different things that have been building around Beaver Dam. So I am in favor of this. I would like to see the block party be consistent. I mean, if we're adjusting fees, can we also adjust that to zero as well, where if it's over 60 days, then it's $50? Just because I would like to see that be consistent with the event, because that is what we did back in 2023, is we made those both consistent with each other. So I guess I would like to see that stay consistent, since we are referencing 2023.
Okay, we'll make a note. Alder Burnett?
The reason that we kept the block parties at $50 is because those are private events. Those ain't open to the public. They're open to the people in that block. I can't just walk up to in somebody's block party and go in and start drinking and doing whatever I want.
Well, and also, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was when I was on admin, and all block parties require DPW to set up barriers. And then they have to come back and pick up the barriers. And then if there's, so there's always a minimum amount of work for block parties. I'm just trying to remember the conversation in the admin committee when that decision was made for $50. Yeah, Nathan, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so there was one other commentary, and that was with regard to parks and renting of a park facility, and the thought process of where do we want to encourage people to use. So it's just a simple economics thought process, that if we're saying the streets are free, like that's where we want to encourage people to have parties, or do we want to encourage them to use the parks? And if it's cheaper to use the street than it is to use the park, that was another conversation that we had. In addition to the fact that it was a private event, in addition to the fact that it still required the Public Works to to participate to a certain degree as well.
Alder Wild?
I want to just address what Alder Anderson is saying, and he can stop me too if I'm wrong, but I think what he was talking about when he was asking and throwing out all these possible requests is maybe there should be some limits set about how many things can be requested, because whether or not we're charging for it, it's still costing us a lot to supply it. So what are the limits? Like somebody asks for 10 barriers, is that reasonable? Can they ask for 10 barriers? Maybe if that were put out there and say the most barriers that someone can have at a certain event is 5, then we don't have to deal with that. But right now, it doesn't sound like there's much consistency in what would be supplied at an event. Maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know. Thank you.
Well, and I think the idea is that a larger event, which would require more barriers, is bringing more people into the community. So it's a wash. Yes, it's costing more, but they're bringing more tourism in. Again, that's one of the points that was brought up. So Alder Anderson.
To that point, you know, it's a wash. Okay. I love this argument. More tourism is better. Same thing with you, Chris. So we bring in 10,000 people. They spend a ton of money, right? Can you supply a report of how much each one of these events brings in that the city gets back? Because what do? They buy stuff, right? All these people that come to town buy stuff, right? And when you buy stuff, you get charged sales tax, right? Who gets the sales tax? The state and the county. How much does the city get? 0. You get 0. So when you have all these huge events and it comes in, we get $0 off of that, really. Now, the business owners make a lot of money. They make a lot of profit. And it's taking taxpayer money to do advertising for these events so that private businesses can bring in huge profits. And they're bringing in profits, more tax, right? No, the city doesn't get any of their income tax. So this argument of, it's a wash because the bigger events, they're going to require more money and they're going to bring in more money. That's completely false. I would also expect you to correct that on a block party, the DPW does not come in and set up barricades and set up signage. They drop off signage so that the people putting on the block party can then put out. And so they drop it off and they come pick it up, but they do not set up the signage. If you want to go back and we had this discussion we did, I would think being the mayor, you would remember this because they don't set up the signage for block parties. They drop it off and they come pick it up. That's what they do. If we did that same thing for these events, and that is my point, it's where's the limit? It's all subjective. If I come in and ask for it, I'm going to get denied like I did about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. All mine got denied before any policies were in place. I had 5 or 6 events all planned out. They all got denied. And I followed everything to the T. They all got denied. But if someone, perhaps the owner of Uga Brewery came in and wanted 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, they're not going to get denied because all they have to do is call the mayor and say, why are you guys denying me? That's what they did under the previous administration. They didn't want to pay the $50, so they got it reduced to 0. And then people said, why is this 0 when it actually costs the city money to do all this stuff? And now we're back to the point it's got to be 0. And we're coming up with any excuse under the frickin' sky to why this should be 0. Why not have a very minimal fee? $50 for an event is nothing to recoup some of our costs. So it just blows my mind that we're even having this conversation again. It's these businesses that are making hundreds and thousands of dollars that admittedly are millionaires don't want to pay $50 for an event fee. They're that greedy. It just blows my mind.
Any other alders who have not yet expressed an opinion on this issue want to weigh in? Yep.
I see some weight to Alder Anderson's comments without pointing any fingers. I do wonder if this creates a sense of favoritism. You know, and the wherefores and the whys, all of the different, if you're part of this group, or if you do it this way, or if you have, could this potentially get confusing? That's one concern of mine. The other thing is, if someone encounters all of these special rules to have something forgiven like this, you know, if you're found to be outside of the favored groups, doesn't that sting a little bit? Doesn't that feel inequitable? Could this be handled maybe by a special application process to have your fee forgiven if you're in part of one of those groups that you want to encourage? I guess my biggest concern with all of this is I see where it's going and I see the purpose, and I'm absolutely on board with driving tourism here. We've seen marvelous efforts for it in the last few years, and it should continue. But I guess consistency and equity are at the top of my mind, and there are some question marks as things sit. Thank you, that's all.
I just want to comment that, just to be clear, the event application fee or application process and fee applies to any group, any organization that wishes to hold an event in Beaver Dam. It is not pinpointed for any particular group. Now, the fact that certain community groups are very good at holding events and use the process, that is not something that the city controls. But what we do control, as you said, is the process, and the process is the same for anyone. I assure you, at least in the short time I've been in office, I have not received a call about event permitting. While Alder Anderson may have had fears of that under the previous administration, I would beg to differ that that's a significant issue. I think the reality is if an organization, be it nonprofit or commercial, wishes to hold an event in the city of Beaver Dam, they all follow the same process. So, good. Any other comments before I think we need to vote? Yes.
I did not say that the process was different, but it was mentioned that certain groups that act a certain way will have no fee. That's the inequity I was pointing to. Thank you.
Well, all groups, if they act the same way, will have no fee. Right? It's a time limit thing. So. Okay. Alder Fisher.
Call a question.
Thank you. And do I need a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Alder Sapp. So we are voting on the resolution to amend the City of Beaver Dam fee schedule as recommended by the Administrative Committee. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. So in order to call the question, we need a vote. Can it be a voice vote, Larry? Okay, we need a roll call vote, Tracy? so-
This is to call the question.
This is, if you're voting, if you vote yes, you want to vote on the question now. If you're voting no, you want to continue discussion.
Anderson,
Aye.
Appenfeld,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Hiley. Aye. Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yutz,
Aye.
Zap.
Aye.
Okay, so now we are voting on the resolution to amend the City of Beaver Dam fee schedule.
Burnett,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Hiley,
No.
Keel,
Abstain.
Olson,
No.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yutz,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Anderson,
No.
Appenfeld.
No.
And the resolution passes. Next up, mayoral appointments. We have an additional appointment for the Beaver Dam Lake Development Corporation. I'm asking that you approve Joe Lehner to join that organization. So can I get a motion?
Make a motion to appoint Joe Lehner.
Thank you. Alder Hiley, can I get a second?
Oh.
Alder Bennett? Any questions or discussion? Alder Anderson?
I would just recommend maybe with these appointments you've been doing, you might want to give us a little background on the people, would be helpful. Introduce them, stuff like that, you know? Not
Sure,
everyone knows
sure.
Who they are. I'm just saying.
Great.
It goes back to the group of the knows and the unknown, you know? If you're part of the. I'm not sure.
Joe Lehner, been with the water utility here, utilities in general for the past 15 years. I was approached by Ben Larson that there was a vacancy and be more than happy and excited to further serving my community on the Lake Development Corporation. So, thanks.
Any questions for Mr. Lehner?
Background to be qualified for this?
Well, I'm an environmental advocate. I take pride in what I do in utilities through water and wastewater. You know, I in various roles have ensured the river water and lake water testing parameters and what we submit to DNR. So I'm familiar with the phosphorus levels and what we need to do to help promote cleanliness and environmental activities with homeowners around the lake, to minimize pollutants coming into the rivers and streams. So I have an active role in that in the past, and so.
Thank you.
Alder Burnett?
Yep. Okay. Thank you. I look forward to working with you.
Any other questions? Okay, I think we're ready to vote. And all those in favor of approving Mr. Lehner for the Beaver Dam Lake Development Corporation Board, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you very much and welcome aboard. Now, we have the option to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.5, paren 1, paren E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Can I get a motion to enter closed session? Alder Appenfeld?
I make a motion to go into closed session.
And a second? Alder Hiley, thank you. All those in favor of going into closed session, so signify by saying aye. Oh, no, wait,
Aye.
I'm sorry, that needs to be a voice vote.
Burnett,
Aye.
Flaherty,
Aye.
Fisher, Hiley,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wild,
Aye.
Yutz,
Aye.
Zap,
Aye.
Anderson,
Aye.
Appenfeld,
Aye.
Burnett.
Aye.
So we will move into closed session. So audience members,